All right. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. I'm going to put on timer. So welcome to the session. The topic is AI with Drupal. So you see the presentation. I put a short link down there. So the presentation is public. It contains a lot of videos. Yeah, so you don't have to take screenshots or anything. You can note that down. It comes in the end again. So yeah. So today's topic is AI with Drupal, and subtitle is Real-World Implementation and Future Market Impact. So what I want to do with you today, I want to show you what you can just turn on today, what you can just use that will just help you and your clients in your work, or whoever you think about, where you can immediately have benefits. And I also want to share with you our perception, my perception of what's happening in the market today, and where this is going, and how we should prepare for this. So hence the title. So the goals for the presentation that I just have set myself, or that I want to share with you, is like, number one, I just want to show you what you can do with AI in Drupal today. So not the stuff that we're working on that will come soon, like what you can just do today, hands-on, you can turn on and use in your project immediately. That's what I want to show you. And what I also want to do is I want to make sure that everybody here in the room has the same understanding of how AI really works under the hood. Because sometimes, there's, depending on your exposure to the technology, it can be very difficult to understand what's actually going on behind the scenes. So I just want to do this in a lightweight way, that we all just what we're actually looking at and how this works. And yeah, and then I want to talk about where this is going or could be going. And I would provide recommendations from my perspective how you could proceed. All right, let me introduce myself. I'm Christophe. I'm one of the founders of 1x Internet, and yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. And what I do a lot at 1x is I do a lot of R&D. So lots of the stuff that we're doing, that we're trying to adopt, that we think is impactful, that's where I'm involved in. Yeah. And yeah, and you can find me on social media and on Drupal and the username Breidert. So I'm from 1x Internet. We are a full-service agency, so meaning we cover the complete cycle from strategy consulting to user experience design, and then the development aspect of it, where we are just very focused on Drupal and React, and then of course also performance, web tracking, SEO, GEO, and online marketing, and hosting, maintenance, and support services. By show of hands, who knows what GEO is? Okay, I didn't know this either 2 weeks ago, but it's generation engine optimization, because your clients want to be inside of the LLM, so that when you ask who's the best provider for X, Y, Z, that they show up, yeah? And just like you do search engine optimization, you also optimize for generation engines. All right. So that's what we do, and we are 85 people. We are headquartered in Germany, and we also have offices in Spain and in Iceland. And you see here the darker parts. That's where we have staff, and yeah, so we are from lots of places, and we speak lots of languages. We speak 18 languages in our company, and the most important one, on daily basis, is broken English. We are 10 years old. So we've been around quite a while, and of course, if you're around for quite a while, you just have done many projects. So I assembled a couple of logos. I picked ones that maybe you can resonate to from different areas. So we've seen quite a lot, and yeah, so this is us. For today's agenda, I've just organized it in 3 areas. So first, I want to look at with you how AI actually disrupts how we create content today. And then I want to flip it around and look at with you like how content is consumed today, and then let's talk a little about strategy outlook. All right, let's get started. So let's take this. I was recently like in a meeting with like a partner company, a marketing agency, and in marketing, AI transformation is just like extreme. Because in the past, like if you ever been involved in like, photo shootings and stuff, you bring lighting, you bring people, you bring models. If it's outside, yeah, then you need to depend on the weather. And if you forget to shoot a couple of photos, yes, let's say, for example, you forgot to shoot some photos like from Dries in doing a keynote, yeah, and then you would have to, get him back there and get the audience in or whatever in order to do this. And that is not what's happening anymore today. So today, like when you just take photos, you just generate the rest. Yeah. And if you think about this here, like this example, all these photos are generated. Yeah. If you think about this example, like imagine what this does to the creative industry, like where there are copywriters that create text, there are photographers, there are designers that, work with imagery. So it's really, the disruption there is crazy. Of course, when you generate images based on a source image, it's not perfect what you generate. So let's zoom in on this one here. I mean, there are a few too many Dreeses on this picture. So especially this Dries here, I don't know what he's staring at behind that Dries, but he's for sure confused, yeah? So, and that's actually a point, so what you have to see, like from the beginning, like when you generate content, it's generated content, so it has different levels of quality. So for example, a photo like this, you could probably use in a social media post, that would be fine. But for sure, you wouldn't print it, on a cardboard, on a printed commercial somewhere in the city, yeah? So, Let's take another example. I have a nice one here. It's about video. Video is also completely changing in this world. Let's check out this example here.
Hello Barcelona. Good to see you all. It's been a while, huh? Last time here was DrupalCon Lille. So yeah, I'm going to be here giving my traditional State of Drupal keynotes.
Y tenemos mucho de qué hablar, así que empecemos. Así que, algunos de ustedes podrían recordar DrupalCon Portland. No todos ustedes estuvieron en DrupalCon Portland. Aber wir haben bei DrupalCon Portland wirklich etwas Großes angekündigt. Richtig? Wir haben tatsächlich den Start der Entwicklung von Starshot angekündigt. Und vielleicht könnt ihr euch melden, wenn ihr davon gehört habt.
So I mean, this is pretty crazy, yeah. So this was just done with open source tools available. It's one of our staff doing it. So like you can do this much more professional. If you look closely, lip sync was okay. It can get much better, but like think of it like when you just create, animated or motion design or videos, and you can just like transform this in any language, and it just comes out like this. So that is just hugely disrupting. So what we're seeing is if you have these tools available, of course, like we're seeing content generation at scale. Yeah, I mean, this becomes so easy, so fast, yeah, that like I try to find some data for you, like what we're actually looking at, and so some studies say that like 50% of all marketeers already use AI-powered tools to create all the content that they create, yeah, and estimations go as far as that 70% of the content of the standard platforms that you consume on a daily basis will just be AI generated. And at the same time, where there's content generation at scale, there's of course also cost reduction at scale. Yeah, so, and there are like estimations that like 70% of business are just using this for scaling, using AI for scaling their cost, and 85 million jobs worldwide could change or disappear, while different studies say, 97 million new jobs will be created. And I think this all changes so fast, that like none of these numbers really make any sense, because like if you ask again in 3 months, they're going to be different, and like who knows anyways, because what we knew 1 year ago is not what we have today. But if you're interested in like a nice overview of all the stats that exist, this person here on this blog post like assembled them and just generated these numbers, yeah. But what's for sure, we have content generation at scale, and we have cost reduction at scale, yeah, and it's affecting us. The good thing is, you need better content management systems if you have more content. So we here, building Drupal, we are in a good spot, and I think you also feel this when you listen to this Dries Q&A earlier, or just like see all the sessions that are going on, the activities. So that's where we are. And where we also are is Drupal, and we started really early of adopting AI, and we just have a competitive value proposition against the competition today. Yeah, so we are leading the pack in all this fast transformation, and and we just want to make sure that it stays that way. So we're in a good spot. Okay, now I will just go into examples in a minute, like how to use Drupal, but let's first break down the AI black box a little bit. Yeah? So when we say AI, or when I say AI in this context now, I'm usually referring to generative AI. And generative AI means it generates content. It's also what you saw on the slides before. And when it generates content, it does that on learned patterns. So if you want to simplify it in a graphic, so you have input, prompt that you write, that goes to a statistical model that does something, and then this generates output for you. So that's what Gen AI does. And if you, for example, look at language models, they just generate text. So what they just do, they just analyze patterns in text to predict sensible outcome for a certain prompt. And that allows you to just write questions and answers, ask for summarizations and the likes. And, but it's the same thing. So you have, like, again, a statistical model. In this case, it's a language model. You send in text, and you get a text response back that has a high probability of making sense. If you stay for a second on the example of a language model, so to just understand like how this works and how they're trained. So language models, they're just trained on, that's why they're called large language models, on massive amounts of data. And how you can think about this is, so you have like very many documents that you stick in, and these documents intrinsically, or the sentences or the text in these documents contains patterns. You know, that could be good morning, good day, good afternoon. That could be grammatical patterns. That could be sentences. That could be logical things, how they relate together. And like if you train a model, so you train it with lots and lots and lots of data, then these patterns that exist in the data, they are uncovered. That's what I tried to show here in this illustration, that they are like the slightly dotted lines. You know, they become transparent, and that is then what makes up the language model. That when you stick in text, that you get out text that follows these patterns. Yeah. And the same way, like a vision model just generates images. It's just trained on images. You know, they are just like very, very many images, and they have pixels, and these pixels sit next to each other in a certain order, and they relate to some additional data, and that's how vision models create image output, by working with these patterns. And the same would be for video model generations. It's just pictures, but now you transition between frames, and it's again the same thing. So it's just statistical model and patterns, and you send something in, based on the patterns, some output comes back out. So what's important to remember, many of you for sure already do, but it's good, like models, they predict output that has the highest probability of making sense based on the patterns that's in the data. Yeah? That's important, because what's not in the data you can't predict. So a language model generates text. Yeah, so we often read in media that they get smart, they think. Yeah, but they just don't think. They just have a lot of context, and they predict what comes next. And vision models, they don't see. They just identify patterns. And same with for video models. They just predict motion. Yeah. So if you take like one more slide about like thinking, like do they think? Like what does that mean, that thinking? So AI, it doesn't think, it predicts. Yeah. And it's also not reasoning. You hear about the reasoning models, or that, you know, like, I mean, it feels like reasoning, it feels like understanding, but it's recognizing patterns in data and present that to you in a way that you feel there's a good reason for that it is like that. Yeah. And also if you think about creativity, so AI does not generate images, it actually remixes stuff that it has seen before, but feels creative. And it's for sure not making decisions, it's just choosing the stuff that has a very high probability, very likely outcome to make sense given like the task at hand. Yeah? I did one more, like when I was thinking about this and preparing this, I was a little bit thinking about like the difference between thinking and repetition. And what came to my mind is like back then when you're in school and you just had to study math. Yeah, there's essentially two ways how you could do it. So you could just memorize everything, you know, like practice, 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 and not really understand what you're doing, and you could get good grades. Or you could understand it, and once you understand it, yeah, then everything's easy, and you can also get good grades. And both, you know, gets you good grades, but they're just completely different, and AI is much like the memorization one. All right. Let's move on to standard functionality with Drupal. So here's a short video recording. So what you see here is is a demo platform. So I need to explain some context here. So at 1x Internet, we always build everything in the same way. Is it running? I think it is, yes. We always build everything in the same way, and once we build something that we can generalize, we stick it in here, and that's why you see, so it wasn't, what you see here now, it wasn't configured for like this session, it's just a standard thing with standard AI functionality, and what you see here, that's the first thing that is available today, is that you can just configure different AI models to just work with your Drupal installation. So now what I'm doing as an example, I'm just mimicking the process of a person that would just create a blog post about DrupalCon Atlanta. Yeah, so you would have the content for DrupalCon Atlanta. So in this case, what you just saw was like a module that's called content templates that we use to just essentially just clone some content, and then you can start working off the clone. Now I'm just like making some basic changes, and now, since we have AI enabled, I can just like generate some text, and then I say create a blog post about this based on the session information. I paste that in, and then ask AI. In this example, it's OpenAI who's generating the content, and I get a response back. I can review it. I can copy it to the text and use it. Yeah. Now, what you would do is, of course, you also need images. So here, another example of what you can do today. I'm just like putting some images up now. You can, of course, just generate the image alt text also with AI, and as you saw, like in the text, there comes another example in a minute. I'm adding another image. If you check the texts that are being generated, so here this is actually from the women in Drupal in Atlanta, a photo, yeah, and no, in Barcelona it was, and it just, it makes a perfect description that is good for accessibility, that really properly describes the photo as it should be, so a screen reader can read that photo and read what's on the photo, and it makes sense to a person that's using a screen reader. Yeah, here I forgot to just, of course, add the copyright for the person. That could, of course, also be automated if the images came directly from Flickr, for example. Okay, so now I insert the images. Do this here. Pick it. Yeah, while I was recording this, I was unhappy with this picture, so now I'm moving here the focal point a little bit down. Sorry, I couldn't help it while I was recording. Anyways, let's keep going. So now what you would do, like in this layout, so like it's a standard blog layout, you have like image text on top, and then you have like a little bit, right, left text. So we do the same here. So now I just take the content from two particular blog posts and put that in. Yeah, then save, add the picture, put that in. So do it one more time, down here as well, just for a different blog post. Can make this short text, use this. All right, almost there. Then we can update and make the text better. What you see here, this module, what I'm using is called front-end editing. The one with the live preview, it's really nice if you just want to change stuff directly and you just have like here real live preview. It's using Drupal's preview functionality in the background. And then you see immediately on screen what you have, and when you save, then it first gets saved. And here you saw I'm using different types of prompts. Like here, it was written in present tense. I put it to past tense. Earlier, I was just like transforming bullets into text. Of course, you can just do whatever, like bullets to text, text to tables, tables to text, and whatever you want. Yeah, same thing. What you can do, of course, is any other modification that's standard for your editors, you can just like have ready, and you can just use. Now another example, I'm here switching to Anthropic. So here what you see is content generation. So now I'm generating a title for this blog post. And here, we always have preview text. So here there was a visual glitch that you just saw. And this generates text based on the content. And that, of course, is just like massively annoying for content editors if they just have to invent this all the time. So what you also have, you can just, of course, apply this, content suggestions also to meta tags. You can apply this to any field. The way we created that is something we contribute. I'll show you in a minute. You can attach it to any field. And here, the last one I want to show you, there's also a very nice module to just generate SEO reports. It just reads the page, takes like a very elaborate prompt, and then just tells you everything from the semantics of your page, from the topic authority, and so forth, how this works. So everything you saw there is just ready. You can just install it and use it. If you put in a key and you configure the models you want to use correctly, that is just available, and you can ship this today. These are just the models that were installed. You see Anthropic and OpenAI providers. We just have Gemini because we're in Google internally. We tried Grok too. And these are just standard modules. The one here, the AI helper, that's an internal one that's where we develop all the stuff that we are using here that's not yet contributed. And we are currently contributing stuff that you see, for example, some additions to CK Editor, with these overlays and how text is generated and how that process works. We're currently contributing this to the AI submodule CK Editor. And the content suggestions, the button you click to say, suggest me title, suggest me preview text, suggest me meta tags, we're contributing this to AI content suggestions. You can try this for yourself on trydrupal.1xinternet.de, so that was just taken from there. And we keep updating it because we use it, firstly, if people want to test, if our clients want to test, and if our internal staff wants to see what's being built. So it's a really nice way of just like sharing knowledge, and so it's public. You could try it if you want. I want to give you one here along the way, is you just want to have quality control. So like if you paid close attention to the text that was generated, it was okay, like probably you thought it was good. But like if you read it, it doesn't make so much sense, So it just generates something that kind of makes sense, but it's not perfect. And so you need to have like human in the loop, and that's what's called hallucination, because when a model just answers something that probably could be right, sounds right, but it's actually not right. So that's called hallucination. Or like images, like if you just generate images, like distorted images, the extra finger is usually like a good way of spotting. And what you will also see when you just generate text that has logic, that you will have logical inconsistencies or just simply drop that wrong stuff. So you need to keep a human in the loop. That's actually also a thing where there's a lot of innovation possible in Drupal, because we're really good at having workflows and permissions and all these processes. So I think there's a lot possible to develop functionality in this respect. All right, now let's turn around. Let's look at content consumption, because if we produce a lot, we still have the same amount of time of reading it. So consumption is also changing. And before we start, I just want to give one example. So for example, if you now want to know what the 40-40-20 rule of software development is, maybe some of you do, others don't. Like in the past, you would do this. You would just search it, then you go on this page, you would read it. Oh, it doesn't look very nice, looks a little bit theoretical. Let's take the next one. So that one, oh, that's a paper, scientific paper. There's no text here, no, hard to understand. Don't want that one either. And then you would just maybe go on the last page, and there even says some more things. And what you now have to do, you read all the stuff in your head, you assemble this, and to get an answer on what that is. And like honestly, probably none of you will do this anymore. What you would do instead is like go to Claude or your favorite AI tool, and you would ask exactly that same question, and you get a perfectly compiled answer. Because all the information we just looked at is already in the model. So the model, just returns that to you in exactly the way you want to have it. And if you just want to have it in a little bit different way, so in this case, the example, I need some more real examples, like what that means. Then you just ask for more examples, and you get exactly what you want. So that's how you would do it today. And the same will happen to your websites. They just not going to click around on your websites anymore. If they're not even clicking on Google, they're asking straight away. So why would that be different on your websites too? We'll get to this in a second, like how this could look like. And but before we go there, let's just take again one short step back, and let's look at the AI process that I'm going to be showing in a minute, like what happens here under the hood. So we started here, right? So you have a statistical model. You stick something in, and something comes out. And of course, what you can do, you can influence what you send in. So typically you send in, you have your prompt, that's the question you ask. Then usually instructions are sent along with your prompt. And then maybe some data that is just relevant for your question can be sent along with it. And that is actually what's referred to as retrieval augmented generation, this RAG, what lots of people talk about. And it just works like this. You just put in the prompt, and then based on the question you asked, an internal search is executed to find documents that contain information about what you're asking, yeah, from a vector database, and that is passed along as additional context together with your question and the instructions to the large language model to then produce an answer. Yeah, that's how this works. To be complete here, let's just look at another way of just building AI applications. You can, of course, also chain them. Yeah, so the output that comes back from a statistical model, you don't have to send to the user right away. You can use it as input for the next one in the chain. Yeah, so just for completeness, because that's also what happens there in the background. And now to like a little bit put this into the correct wording so that when we talk about it, we say the right things. So when we say AI workflows, then we mean like these type of chained systems. You know, you take this, do this first, take this data, put it here, do something with this data, and then put it there, and at some point return it. That would be a workflow. And if you just, you know, for example, yeah, extract data from email, enrich it, and stick it into a CRM system, that would be a typical workflow application that's common to build. And if you talk about AI agents, then it's similar, but they are more autonomous. So an agent is like they have smaller purpose and they collaborate and they hand off things to one another in a generic way, yeah. And yeah, so it's just not as strict as workflows, yeah. And for example, there could be a chatbot that just loads different things and like checks and and adapts itself based on what you're doing with it, for example. And these are referred to as agentic systems. Yeah, so like when you hear these terms, that's what's meant. All right. So, and now, like where we are today, what lots of companies build today and what goes into production today is these type of systems. Like RAG-like systems where you just have a prompt, you load some additional data from a vector DB or could be from the user profile or something, and then you send this to a model. So that's where we stand today. That's what's currently being built. Maybe there's a workflow attached that it just doesn't come back directly. It maybe goes elsewhere or does something with it, but very limited. Yeah. All right, and that's what's common to do today. Let's now just do this here to the Drupal, or with the data from the Drupal Dev Days website. So this morning, I and probably many of you did this. You just looked at the schedule and you said like, okay, so what sessions are today? I'm interested in AI. Is there an AI session today? And you would scroll down and see, oh, there's one. And then you click on it and you would read it and you say like, okay, that sounds interesting. I will go to that one. That's why you're here. Yeah, and then you say, okay, AI, that's my topic. Like what's going on Wednesday? Yeah, and then on Wednesday, okay, there's a keynote. And then, okay, what's in this keynote about? Okay, it's a little bit short. What else is there on Wednesday? Then there's here AI-powered semantic search. Okay, good one. Type sense. And then there was at the same time another one here, and that's exactly how you would do it. And then you would just have to go back. And then nothing more on this day, if I remember correctly, when recording, yes. And then, yeah, go last day. Come on, hurry up. All right. And yeah, and then there's also something about AI on this day, here like something with ECA and AI and MCP. And okay. Of course, that's like really time consuming, not very nice. So of course, it's much nicer if you could just do that. So first thing you see here is an answer comes back, an overlay opens with all the AI sessions that I just had to manually find. Now, instead of reading the sessions, I ask like, what about this session that we're in right now? So what's that all about? Gives an answer back. Yeah, what that does. Now, if you want to know, okay, there's so many AI sessions, are they all the same? Please compare, like, what's the overlap? That would also be a thing that you would maybe want to do, and then you have to read them all. And it says there is some overlap, but not too much. And then you say, okay, this session where we are, this is good, I want to go here, so when exactly is it? Don't have to go back and look like the room and the time, so he would then, or she, or it, would then correctly answer, like that's here, and it's now. And now, okay, good, you now know where the AI sessions are, but like, what other sessions are there, how they're organized? Yeah, and so the agent correctly says, he's going to say it. It gives like a list of the session tracks that are available. you see this here. It's the latest UI that we built and we are contributing this week. And then you can do stuff like this. So it says here, build me a personalized schedule that contains all AI sessions and all code-related sessions. If that was your thing, that's how you could just do it. Okay, yep, show me. Let's wait for the response. Show me the response. So here's, oh, shit, that's exactly what I did not want to do. Come on, here was the response, I think, there. Was it not there? No, it was here. It was here. And now I want to pause. Can I not pause? No, you can't. Okay. Yeah, whatever. So what I wanted to say, like, so you have the response here. It gives it just does exactly this. My personalized schedule, it contains exactly what I want to have. I could have prompted it differently, and now, I mean, this is just text coming back. Yeah, it's not even formatted. So you can, of course, tell AI to make this nice, make this PDF printable. Like lay out this. Find me contextual information about the speakers. Like, I mean, there's like powerful things that you can do that far exceed like this. In relationship, suboptimal experience that you have nowadays, that you manually have to click around and then just like find the content by yourself. So what you just saw here is also completely available in Drupal today. You can install it. So there's 2 more modules that were installed: the AI search and the AI chatbot. And and I made here in bold, where we're contributing, because the search that you get when you install it does not look like this. That's one thing that we have been working on a lot, because if you want to roll this out to clients, it needs to look good, needs to feel good, and so on. There's stuff that can be improved, like in search and chatbot. And also we're contributing to a module called Markdownify, because you maybe noticed that when I copied content, I always use Markdown, because that's a very easy to understand and optimized format when you send like data to language models. All right, so users expect to interact with your content. That's just how this is today, or how it will be, and they will just want personalized information to their needs. I mean, this is just coming, yeah? And they expect that they get assembled insights from everywhere on your website. They don't want to click around, they don't want to browse. And traditional keyword search and result navigation, that feels outdated. And mega menus that you just click down and like here and like expand, and I mean, there are more barriers of actually being useful. And user journeys across landing pages, like here and filter and then click there. I mean, this will lead to dropout rates. And instead, users just want instant, perfectly formatted landing pages. Yeah, and they want this in their preferred language, or whatever else they would want. All right. Now, going to the last part, strategies and outlook, and then we can have Q&A. First thing is that I think is good to think about is your data is important, yeah? Because anybody can use a language model, but your own first-party data is something that's really valuable, yeah? And your data is what makes you different from everybody else, yeah? And AI models, they need high-quality data to make accurate predictions. Yeah, so you need to govern your data really, really well. Otherwise, when models harvest your data or collect your data for telling the world about what you have to do or what you have to offer, your data needs to be in good shape, and that it doesn't matter. And for this, you need to have a CMS system that is capable of just doing this. Yeah, and so you need to have like the management and governance of your own first-party data. It will become super important. Yeah, so it's good for us. We build content management systems, so that's something that's going to have like very high impact. And you just need to make this data correct, complete, and easy to understand for both external AI systems, and also if you just do something like what I showed, that you build conversational interfaces for your users to interact with your data. Yeah, same thing. You also need that data to be correct and really nicely governed. Yeah, and what you should also consider, or what you, I would say, must consider, is like the efficiency gains that you just have in content creation. You just have to leverage them today, and in order to stay competitive. I think there's no way around this. So if your clients or you are not using the tools right now, I think you should start. And when you start, I think, at least that's the experience from our clients, start as small as possible. Get something, start getting some effect. Yeah, make something work and build on that. And but whatever you do, like, you must keep the human in the loop. Yeah, and make your data governance right. So I think it's important to rethink data presentation in general, because, like, I mean, what you saw there, this is hyper-personalization. I just say how I want my Drupal Dev Days schedule to be. Yeah, I mean, this is just coming, yeah, so you have to prepare for this. And so, again, your data needs to be stored in accessible formats, and you just have to have the skill or build up the skill to provide such conversational interfaces. I mean, luckily in Drupal we have something, and like what you saw here, we're contributing, so that will be available to you. But I mean, the sky is the limit what you can do if you think about how data is presented. And because the users from the digital experience you get, they will want to talk to your data. Yeah, that is just how this will be. And yeah, and get ahead. And I haven't even touched yet automation. Yeah, so there's lots of stuff, like, so everything you saw now was like clicking, was like tools, was like, I have text, I click a button, text becomes nicer, or like I don't have to invent the alt text anymore, or maybe I just have like some data that's being fetched. Like, we're not yet talking about everything that's going on with agents, because that will make this even more efficient and will give you even more things at your fingertips. And but there's a bunch of sessions coming like in this week. So I think today's, this one's the only AI session, but tomorrow you have the keynote. Then you have something about semantic search that's very similar to what you saw in the chat that I showed, but using different technology. TypeSense, really awesome. And also something at the same time about building your own AIs with a custom GPT. And on Thursday, you then have the session about ECA, AI, and MCP. ECA is what Dries mentioned in his Q&A this morning. It's this event condition action. It's a UI tool that you can actually configure what happens if that on that condition, what then should happen. Yeah, so of course that's perfect if you think about AI workflows and if you think about agentic systems. So that just plays along. And MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. If you have not heard about this yet, that's because if agents collaborate, they need to have some kind of, understanding how they do. So for example, if you made an agent that fetched weather data, you don't want to implement different weather APIs. You just want to have one protocol that all agents can understand. And if in your agentic system, weather data is fetched, it should use a protocol for this. This is what this MCP is. So it's also, it's really powerful what's coming there. There's a session about this. And then, of course, of building agents with or without code, also on Thursday, is also going to be really exciting. Thank you for your attention. So we have time for questions. If you ask the question, I will just repeat it, and then I don't have to walk up with the microphone. Yes? Yes. Yes.
But at the same time, you said that you need to have a high quality content
Yes.
for your site.
Yes.
Do you have experience on how you or balancing that? Because the artificial intelligence in general, the text that they generate are not necessarily good.
Yes. So the question was, like, on the one hand, we need high quality content. On the other hand, we generate content. If you generate content, it's not necessarily in good quality. How do you deal with it? That's a very good question, and it's actually a very relevant question, because that's exactly what happens in the example that I showed with imagery. So some image is good enough for social media, but not good enough for print. Some text is good for social media posts, of which you make 100, but not good enough like for your instructions on, let's say, the subscription of your medical drug. Yeah, so you just need to not only manage part of the content management, the content governance is going to be that you say what quality level is this content? Is this print level imagery or is that social media imagery? Is that social media text or is that documentation text? Yeah, so, and I think here again we have opportunity for Drupal and content management frameworks because that's exactly where we're good at. Good question. More questions? There's one.
Yeah, you mentioned GEO along with SEO. So I'm curious about GEO and if that, I think you meant it like how to expose your site's data more efficiently to LLMs, but does it involve the other direction as well as like protecting your site's data from LLMs?
Yep, it's also a very, very good question. I mean, it's the same question as for search engines. That's why we have paywalls. Yeah, so you don't want the search engine to just, tell everything because you want to have the traffic on your site that you can offer your service. Yeah, so the question or the challenge here is the same. I think that's actually unrelated to the language model technology if you look at it in that way. Yeah, but regarding the generation engine optimization. It's actually, so I put it there because like it's a new term, I just was exposed to it, so I thought I shared with you. It's very similar to SEO, yeah, because like in SEO, your content needs to have a clear structure, it needs to be precise, it needs to have like structured data like JSON-LD or something like this, yeah, and then search engines can really well understand it, and the same goes for language models. In addition, what you also want, you want to have policies on your page that actually allow language models to use your data for training purposes. So I don't know how much they respect that, but like in theory, that's something you would want to put there too, and I think for the time being, that's about it what GEO does. Question?
Yeah, you said you weren't going to do talks about future things and things in development,
yep.
But maybe just because you're so into it, and do you have like a prediction or like thing you say, this will be the AI landscape in, let's say, a year or two? That you say like, oh, this will be the thing that I think will come forth from all of this and Drupal AI?
Yeah. It's a very good question. I have two hearts here beating in my chest. Number one is, so if you now think about Drupal ecosystem and you think of companies, developers that work in this field, yeah, so we need to ship something now, because everybody's playing with AI, yeah, and if we are just not fast enough, like our clients, they will start building their stuff in Salesforce AI, yeah, and then we will just interface with Salesforce, and stuff is built there, yeah. So I think it's important that we just use what we have right now and we ship it. And I think like if you want to contribute and you want to help, let's make what we have, what works, beautiful, so we can ship it. Yeah, because we need to have installed base. Like, I mean, it doesn't help that we in 1 year have something really, really cool, but everybody's already using something else. That would not be very good. Yeah, so much better to just now get installed base of hundreds and thousands of companies using Drupal as AI platform. Yeah, and then we just build new things. Yeah, so therefore there's two things that are competing, and I tried in this talk here now to focus on the things that's available today, because I think it's important, and you are developers, and many of you, and like I think there we should collaborate for the benefit of all of us. But to your question, of course, like agentic frameworks is just really awesome. I mean, it's like a little bit, there's like this ant theory that has been around for a long time, yeah, where they all just, the ants just go there and then they find a way, yeah. And that's essentially what that is. You just have one agent can fetch weather data, the other agent can write text, the third one is just good at checking your text against compliance regulations of your organization. And then you just prompt and you say like, well, write a blog post that contains something about the weather. Yeah, and then weather is fetched, blog post writer does it, yeah, it's checked that it's compliant and it comes out. And you just later, only thing you do is review. And that was a simple example with like 3 agents. Think about that would be many. Yeah, and so I think this is really powerful, and there's a lot of development effort going into this, and there's a long way to go. Nobody else has it, and we have something that is really good. Yeah, so I think we are going to see a lot of this. I don't think in 3 years, I think in 6 months or in 1 year, there will be some stuff and that will be really good, but it doesn't free us from, we just need to get installed base. More questions? I think then we're good. Thank you very much for participating and have a nice day and see you in the conference.